Hey guys, welcome back to Tactical Recruit. It's Jake here. If you watched my last video, you were seeing that we were disassembling the Jin Ming M4A1 Gen 9. And so we're going to be continuing on with that today. I'm going to be breaking this Gen 9 gearbox down, and I'm going to be showing you how to replace the O-ring. And also we're going to be putting in a bigger spring, and just for general how to break down your gearbox and put it back together. So yeah, let's get into it. Today's video is brought to you by Gel Ball Undercover. I caught up with the guys down there and they were keen to sponsor the channel. If you haven't checked them out, they're located on the Gold Coast here in Queensland. Gel Ball Undercover. So they gave me little goodies bags to bring home, so I'm just going to have a quick look at what we got. We've got this awesome buttstock. It's pretty cool. It's the first one they got in. They haven't got them up in their store yet. Little slot there to put your battery in. It's got this cool adjustable cheek rest. Nice little feature. It's cool. We've got a metal barrel with a Gen 9 T-piece. That'll be going in the blaster today. We've got some tactical gloves. It's cool. We've got a 1.3 Unequal Spring. That'll be going in the gearbox today. We got a spare Gen 9 gearbox. This will be cool. Give me something to work on, so I don't have to constantly pull my blaster apart just to work on a gearbox and keep practicing. So that's cool. Thanks, guys. I think they sell these for about $45. That's pretty cheap if you want a spare Gen 9 gearbox. If you're not confident to work on your own yet, you can always get one of these. 45 bucks, pretty cheap. Got a little Fortnite keyring, 3D printed, it's cool. And a business card, Gel Ball Undercover. If you guys want to check them out, gelballundercover.com.au. They've got a promo code at the moment, Tactical Recruit. You get 15% off anything in your cart. So I'd love for you guys to go there, check it out, purchase any accessories, blasters from them using that code, and then support the channel and supporting them at the same time. Alright, first things first, if you've watched my last video, you're up to this stage where you've got the Gen 9 gearbox out of the blaster. Before you start opening it up, you're going to want to take this spring out, so when you start taking all the screws out, it doesn't explode everywhere. All you need is a flathead screwdriver. You can also use a pair of pliers. I've seen people on YouTube use a pair of pliers. And just got to spin that, push it in, spin it 90 degrees. It'll pop out, spring retainer, put that aside. It's your stock spring, pull that out. And then you're good to go. So what you need here is a Allen key head screwdriver piece. It's a size 2.0. And just start taking out all the screws. So if you do this a bit, it can get a bit repetitive, taking all these screws in and out, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. And then the easier it gets to remember where things go as well. So remember there's one on the back side here, don't forget to do that. Just flip it back over. And then I like to just grab up the top corner here, slowly pull up. So to get to the O-ring, all you have to do is pull back on this plunger, lift it up, slide it out, and that's that O-ring there that you're going to be replacing. I'll pull the tappet plate out and your cylinder. As you can see, this is the stock O-ring. Slide it in there. See, it hasn't really got good compression. I don't know if you can hear it, but like the air is leaking. So if you can hear that air leaking, so that's what this green O-ring I've got here, we're about to install. It's a better quality O-ring, and it should tighten up those air leaks. So to get that O-ring off, I find if you pinch it and slide it up, Just grab it with your thumb, fingernail, and then slide the green one back on. I've recently oiled this, but it's probably a good idea just to put a bit of oil inside your cylinder there, so you can reinstall that O-ring and plunger. So we'll test the seal on that. Yeah, that's a good seal. Can't even push it halfway in, which is what you want. So just put that tappet plate back on, and nozzle. I'm going to seat it back into the gearbox. So a good tip here is, see these little cutouts? There's one on each side. So there's a place for that in the shell of your gearbox. Just click that in, and then make sure this cylinder is lined up with that cutout. So the edge of this cylinder will sit along that wall too. It's another good sign that you've got it lined up. Sits in perfectly. And if your gears pop out, I find the best way to put them back in. Just put this gear here like this, with it so where the teeth line up and they're just touching the trigger there. So when you pull that trigger in, it frees it up to spin. But when reinstalling to the gearbox, the best way I've found is just to slide it around so it's just touching the trigger. Now we're going to put the plunger back in. Slide that in. There's little cutouts on this rail too, so that'll slide along. Make sure that's lined up. And then this is the part where it gets tricky. So you've got this spring retainer here. So the way that goes, so you got two ends, one's just metal, one's got a little plastic lip. So this will go on just an end with the spring, the lip facing back towards it, and it locks over like that, if you can see that. It gets a bit tricky. But what we'll do is we'll slide that into place. This is the part, this is a really hard part, especially if it's the first time doing it. Don't worry if you're getting frustrated. We all get frustrated. So this is going to go with the smaller end of the gear facing downwards, but it's going to slot into that metal slot there, but you've got to pull this back like that, slot it in, like that. See, I've done this so many times, but it does not get any easier. So that's sitting in place there now. Make sure your wires are pushed down into place. If you have a bit of hot glue, I recommend just putting a bit of hot glue in there so that they don't float around. And so see how I'm still holding this spring retainer in place, because it's going to try and pop up and out. So that's when you get the other half of your gearbox. Make sure your trigger's in, everything's lined up, nothing's going to get jammed. This is where, if you let that go slowly, it's on an angle, but you should be able to catch it in the hole. You can see that silver lined up. Make sure your wires are all good. So that one's slotted back into place. Got to line the trigger up like that. Sometimes this little trigger stopper, that's when the safety goes on, it flicks down. But sometimes that can get caught on the outside. What you got to do is just get a screwdriver and just push it in as you're closing the box there. I had a bit of trouble with that. But that's the gearbox all lined back up. Make sure all your gears are lined up. You'll be able to see them sticking through. And then you're good to go. Put these screws back in where they come from. So that's all the screws back in the gearbox. Now we've got this 1.3 unequal spring. So that's, I'll put it next to the original spring. You can see the difference in the coils. Yeah, it's a bit hard to show you, but this one's a lot firmer. So see how that goes. Just make sure that plunges in. And then we're just going to stick the spring back in. Might be a bit fiddly. Grab the spring retainer. So this time it's going to be facing up, down. You're going to push it in and turn it 90 degrees again, and it should lock in place. Make sure it comes back and clicks in. So there you go, that's the gearbox put back together. And now I'm going to show you how to reassemble your blaster. To reassemble Gen 9 gearbox, making sure your wires are safely pulled out. We're going to reassemble the blaster. So first things first, we've got to install the gearbox back into the receiver. Make sure your battery wires are sticking out below the where the buffer tube goes, and then your motor wires are sticking through the hole where your grip will sit. And slowly push that down in, making sure to pull on those wires, make sure they're not getting caught up anywhere, jammed. You don't want them to splice and burn out your motor or burn out your battery. So then you're going to have to tilt the gearbox forward into the receiver so the trigger can slowly make its way out. And then if you can, making sure your wires are safely pulled out of the way, clip the back like that, and just do a last double check on all your wires. And then I like to grab it like this, putting your thumb on the gearbox, and just clip it into place like that. There should be just a little bit of movement, just making sure those wires are all freed. And then I like to put in this back pin just to have something keeping it in place. You can quickly check your semi-auto safe switch, making sure that's functioning, putting it safe, pull the trigger. And then we'll slot this pin back in, remembering it's got the lip which faces upwards. So it will only go in that one direction. This requires a size 2.5 Allen key head. So just going to put this pin back in while we're at it. It's got a rough side and a smooth side. Put the rough side through first. If you're looking down the barrel of your blaster, it'll be going from right to left. Stick the rough side through first, and then just slowly push it in. So that rough side will be not sticking out the side, should be flush. And this side should be flush as well, or pretty close to flush. That's all that does there, just hold it in place. Next things next, I'm going to reinstall the grip. If you watched my last video, I removed the grip and left the screws in there because I think it makes it a lot easier to reinstall. The black wire is going to be going through the front hole. Just get that just poking through. And then the red wire is going to be going through the back hole. See if I can get that one through. And slowly feed them up while dropping the grip back down. If you can grab them through the top. And then line your grip up, slide it on. Just double check to make sure those wires are free. They're not grabbing on anything or pinched anywhere. And you're going to need the extension and the size 2 Allen key head. And then just do those 4 screws up. There we go. So while we're at it, we're just going to drop the motor back in. So red side closest to the red wire, and then just the plain silver side closest to the black wire. Make sure those wires are pulled free, and then sometimes you've got to fiddle around with the motor to make sure it gets full depth. But once it's getting its way down in there, you can put your red wire onto the red side, silver wire. They clip onto these little tabs and you should be able to see them. Clip on like that. Just check it. And then we got the end cap. And then just tuck those wires in, making sure they don't get pinched anywhere. I'll just have to tuck it in like that. And then just retighten back up. Just make sure they're tight. Perfect. Now, while you're here, it's probably a good idea to test it with the battery, since it's all held in place. We'll just plug. This is just a standard 7.4 volt battery in. Safe semi. Auto. I don't know if you can hear it. It sounds like the teeth are stripping. So make sure you screw this height adjustment in. At least to flush, you might have to go a bit further. Just play around with it until it starts to sound right. You shouldn't hear like a stripping gear sound. I don't know, some of the videos I've seen on YouTube say you only have to do that with some of the upgraded motors, but I found the standard motor wasn't sitting real well. So make sure you keep an eye on that. But if you're up to this stage, you've got the grip installed, we're going to go to the buffer tube next. So all you need for that is put this little clip back on. Slide that over. Oops. Making sure to pull those battery wires through, sorry. Slide that over, make sure they're pulled through neatly and not jammed or pinched. And then you've got the buffer tube. I like to just slide this ring back just out of the way, feed the wires through. Slide over, making sure to pull the wires so they don't get pinched. And then you're going to need this screw and little washer thing with a cutout. And so you've got to drop it on, making sure the wires sit over the cutout. Then helps have this extension thing. Push it down through. If you want, you can pull it open here. Just pull that screw through if you need. A bolt, I should say, sorry. Just lining it up, pulling the wires again, and then grabbing a Phillips head. You just need to tighten that screw in there. It's tight. You shouldn't have any movement. I'll just redo this ring back up like that, and that's that. While I still got the Phillips head on, I will reinstall the mag release. So you see the slot in there, so it'll slot through. And then you'll have to hold it, grab the spring, drop the spring on, mag release, hold it over. Careful not to tighten it too far. It is still nylon and you'll most likely strip it if you keep trying to tighten it. Then we are almost done. I'm just going to put on the bolt release. It's just for aesthetics, it doesn't actually do anything. While at it, we've got the metal barrel from Gel Ball Undercover. It's a Gen 9 piece already attached. So I've got my upper receiver here. I'm just going to slot that straight in. That's one of the easiest upgrades you can do. Then we're going to reattach the upper and lower receiver. So to do that, I don't know if you can see it, this little tab here and this little tab here. I like to line them up like that, clip it on, and then squeeze down at the back while sliding it in. That will slide in nicely. The first time I did this, I had my hop up screwed on the end here, and it just wouldn't, this bolt would just not line up, so I was jamming it, and I realized it's because I had the hop up on after about 5 minutes, so trying to squeeze that bolt through. So if you do have a hop up on, make sure you take it off so that can line up properly. Gives you just a few more millimeters of play, which is all you need. And then reinstall this pin here. This pin's got that flat side. The flat side is gonna match up with the flat side of the receiver. Just push that through. Switch back to the Allen key head and tighten that up. And I'm going to install that new buttstock. It's a pretty cool design, it's different. So I'm going to slide that over. So you just squeeze it there and adjust it. It's going to give it a unique look. I quite like it actually. It's got some weight to it too, which is nice. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly load up a mag with some gels. I'm going to put a few rounds through it, making sure it's all working correctly, and then we're going to wrap up this video. So I've just finished testing this upgraded blaster now. It's got the 1.3 spring and that big, or just better green O-ring. And yeah, it's shot really well. You can definitely tell it's got a bigger spring in it. It's got a bit more of a thud to it. So hopefully those gears hold up for a while, still being the plastic, but we'll be eventually getting those metal gears in soon. I'll be a lot stronger all around. But how good does that stock look? I'm really happy with that stock. It really adds to the feel of the blaster and adds some decent weight. But yeah, so thanks for watching that video. I hope it helped. Please like and subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and drop a comment down below. If there's anything you want to discuss or any future videos you want, I'm here to help. So thanks guys.